Hey, everybody. Welcome to the World's Okayest Mountain Bike Podcast. And we have got a full slate today. But before we get into it, I just want to say that today's podcast is sponsored by me, Clint Sylvie. Had a little recent change, and I'm now working with Reese Financial Group as a financial planner. And they know I do this podcast thing. So I guess you could say this podcast is sponsored by Reese Financial Group. Well, here it goes. We all love to ride, and best thing about mountain biking is it's a lifetime sport, but we all know it's not cheap. So if you want to plan for your future and make sure you can do this well into the time that you would have grandchildren and so on, give me a call at Reese Financial Group, or you can email me, ksylvie@moneyconcepts.com, or give me a call at 573-747-4272. Reese Financial Group is an independent firm not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. All securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Member FINRA SIPC. All right.
Nice. Nailed it.
Man,
that's the best one I've ever done.
All right. For those that are still left, thank you for hanging on through that.
Hey, I haven't done that in a while. All right. But part of the reason I was motivated to do it is I'm gonna give you a little table of contents as to what's coming up here. Is I got a new bike today, so we got to talk about that.
First, we got to sell some financial planning, people.
We've got to, we got to talk about the BT Epic. We've got to talk about the fact that Ryan says he's racing it next year, and he has a very specific goal. But we have a little one-sided, one-way bet where if I beat him, he will pay for my entry fee after the fact. We got to discuss the bike he's building. What else do we have to talk about? I've got to be a little more forthcoming with the details about my tire puncture. We'll be fast on that.
I was going to say, I do want a little bit of a lowdown on the tire, maybe.
All right, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Not too long, not too long. Because
from Victoria, who, the man behind the Minion DHF and a whole bunch of other tires, he had, I don't want to say beef. Beef's too strong of a word, but he thought I didn't give a fair amount of details when I talked about the hole I punched in it. But we'll get there. A lot of stuff coming up. So what do you guys want to start with? I don't care.
Well, we should start with BT.
Yeah, we got to start with the Epic, man. And now we've had everybody on a cliffhanger. Well, I guess not really. You kind of gave your race recap. You just haven't given us the opportunity to completely bust your balls about it.
Yep.
Hey,
we haven't had that chance yet. I've been chomping at the bit for like 4 days now.
Yeah, Ryan's got a lot to say.
I know Kyle listened to it.
Yeah,
I listened to my little 15-minute recap.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't listened to that, you ought to probably just stop this one and listen to that first, and then come back to this. So maybe the best thing to do is, since you guys throw questions at me if you want me to fill in some blanks, just throw some questions at me, and I'll do my best.
I think first question for maybe listeners who just want to listen to this and didn't listen to your recap: what was your finishing time total?
Oh,
no,
right.
No
my
excuses,
official.
no why.
Okay. My official time was 8 hours and 6 minutes in like 11 seconds.
Okay, and what was your goal? Your goal was sub 7, right?
My goal was 7 hours. Yeah.
So you were 57 minutes past, or 67 minutes past your goal.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I still think is a very realistic, obtainable goal, even though an hour longer seems like a lot.
So when we did the preview show for the BT Epic, and I asked you what your goal was, I had a little smirk on my face because 8 hours is where I was pegging you, and I was pretty accurate on that.
You were.
You said 7, and I kind of chuckled.
Okay,
I just left it at that.
Let me ask you this, Ryan. When you were chuckling in your mind, what did you think was going to happen to me that was going to keep me from that?
I will say, and I texted you this, I thought it would be cramping, and you said you didn't really struggle with cramping. So that is impressive.
Nope. Well, and I wonder though if I didn't struggle with cramping because of my other issue prevented me from going super hard.
Could be.
Because I was worried about cramping I really was. And I thought my leg was starting to flirt with it toward the end, but then it was fine.
Yeah. I don't think 8 hours is bad. I just thought it was when
Well, it's
you
pretty
said
far
7.
down the list. I can tell you that, boys. It's pretty far down the list.
Let me ask you guys real quick then. So, as a guy, so I don't do big mile rides. I think I did 27 miles for an entire day a couple weekends ago in Columbia. But when do
That's
you
the
guys,
most I've ever done in a single day before the BT Epic ever was the last time I did a full lap at Berryman, which was probably the Battle of Berryman in 2019. And I have not probably done a ride that big since.
when does cramping kick in? Like when at what point in time in mileage or hours do you start getting cramps? I've never had leg
Kyle,
cramps.
it's weird because like I've had cramps like when I did OT 100, I had cramps at mile 8 and I was super prepared for that race and then worked through them and then they never came back. And I've also had cramps at 80 miles in a long endurance race. So I don't know. I think some of it's maybe how I know when I cramped early in that race, I went out really hard early and I learned my lesson from that. The next year I started slower and worked my muscles in, got them warmed up. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's hydration preparation or how hard you go out of the gate and, weather temperatures.
Intensity is a huge thing. I mean, the last 2 times, or at least multiple times doing the Bentonville Enduro, stage 7, I couldn't even pedal. My legs would just lock up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that's not even 1,000 foot of climbing probably on the whole day.
And that's
but it's the intensity.
That's why I asked is like whether or not, because I've never experienced leg cramps at all on a ride. I had like midsection cramps playing soccer as a kid, but I've never had leg cramps. Now I drink like gallons of water every single day and have for like 10 years. I mean, like I didn't really never drink coffee. I don't really drink alcohol hardly. And so like I just drink a ton of water all the time. And I just didn't know if I'm just a guy that just doesn't get cramps or if I just haven't pushed my body hard enough to get cramps. And that's maybe why I haven't had them yet. So that's why I was curious.
It's probably you just haven't done a fatiguing enough ride, because I was the same way for a long time until one time in January at Berryman, the first time I ever got like real leg cramp. We had probably ridden, I don't know, I think it's right about 15 miles, basically from Berryman Campground to Brazil Creek. And I had to it was Chad Grimminger and I, we both got them at the same time. We were trying to keep up with a guy named Travis Thrower, who was just gone. He left us. He was in great shape back then. And we both got cramps at Brazil Creek and just had to hike up the highway and out. I remember I got really bad poison ivy because I was sitting on the side of the highway. And then Battle of Berryman, I got them about the same mark and just had to spin real easy the rest of the way. And then, but this race, I felt good. I mean, as far as that goes, I was fine.
One of the things too, Kyle, with cramps that I discovered a few years ago was I think there's some genetic makeup in it too. Because I know I was in fantastic shape and my dad was actually in really good shape at that point. And we would get cramps at like the same time on the same rides, in the same weather conditions, and people who were riding with us that were not in as good a shape, were not experiencing leg cramps. And it's weird because I've gotten them racing dirt bikes in certain situations, and my dad gets them in those same situations. So I think some of it's like a genetic, maybe it's like way your muscle fibers are, different body makeups too. I don't know.
Colder weather does it to me. You'd think hotter weather would be worse because of the sweating, but it's cold when I'm cold. I'll get them when I'm colder, versus when I'm hot. Every time I've gotten them, it's been pretty cool weather, like wet, kind of damp, or cold. I was cold this entire race. I thought I would get hot or warm at least. So right as it started, I went to just shorts and short sleeve jersey, and I never got warm the entire race. I was cold the whole time.
Now, what time did your group set off?
8. It was supposed to be 8:40. I don't know exactly what time. It might have been a little after.
And well, it was a high of what, 62 or something like that day, 65.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
pretty.
you're in the
chilly
shade
out.
the entire time. That was
But
the thing. The
but
very
dry.
few spots where I got out in the sun, it felt great, but you're in the shade the whole time. And the beginning, it was kind of a little bit foggy that morning, and there were a few creek crossings, and in one of them, like I got a foot pretty wet. There was just no avoiding it. Yeah, man, just never really got warm.
You know, that's a tough race. So I know I kind of bust you a little bit, but I mean, even just finishing that, especially on the bike you were on, that's I mean,
And I didn't see
that's
anybody else with a 38 mil stanchion fork, much less one that was at 170. There might have been. I didn't see them.
Man, my truck doesn't even like to carry a bike around that heavy. So like you do it for 50 miles. That's pretty impressive.
Well, okay, let's get the tire thing out of the way because Ken was a little bummed at me for not. Look, I've ridden those tires like 60 miles and I've gotten one tiny little poked hole right in the top. I guess that's, I put one plug in it and it was fine. Like it never lost any more air. A guy had lent me his pump so I wouldn't use all my CO2 and that was good. The rest, that was at mile 30.
Ken shouldn't be too bummed. No, you as a human being, you are harder on mountain bike tires than any other person I know, including people that I know that ride hard and fast and weigh 60 pounds more than you. I don't know how you.
Well, that's the crazy thing. I punctured it in a very what I thought was one of the smoothest feeling pedally, very slightly uphill sections of the whole trail. For those who raced it, it's just like right before Whiskey Ridge, that section. I just was pedaling along, and all of a sudden I hear, psst.
That's what happens.
And other places, I mean, I sent the thing down some hills that were pretty rocky early on, and didn't hit just smashed into stuff, and it was fine.
What was your tire pressure at? Just out of curiosity.
What was that?
What was your tire pressure at?
I started with it at 21 in the front and like 25, 26, probably 25 in the back.
Look at you.
That was a little, I'll say this. Those tires, they roll fast. They are definitely more cross country than trail. Right. You know, I was feeling it on the wet roots and rocks the first half of the day. They act more like cross country tires, but what I will say was great about them is compared to like the Barzo I've used and stuff, they're definitely more positive on cornering, and if you're coming in hot braking and you get on the brakes, they actually brake and you just brake nice and straight and it doesn't feel super squirrely and out of control.
That's
so I think the tires were, I mean, heck, if someone wants to buy that bike with those tires on it, they can, but if not, I'll keep them in my basement and use them again next year.
Well, I think I'm gonna put that tire on my build, so that's cool.
Yeah, man, or at least as a front, you could, if you wanted something even slicker on the back, like a mezcal, you could do like a mezcal rear and that as a front. But I'll be honest, I don't know, Ken probably wouldn't like me saying this, but it's hard for me to. I'm kind of like, what's the point of the Barzo? I guess if you wanted a more aggressive rear tire, I don't know if it actually rolls faster or not. It looks like it might, just because there's a whole center tread line that's unbroken. But
you're saying the Sierra is faster than the Barzo?
It shouldn't be, right? But I can't tell the difference really. I think the difference would be minuscule at a place like Berryman where it's a lot of loose rock. If the dirt was more packed and smooth, or if you had even more pavement, there'd probably be a more noticeable difference. But I don't know for sure. I mean,
nice.
All right, so give me some more BT questions, or you just want to hear me rant?
So go ahead, Kyle.
So I was going to ask about nutrition. So we kind of talked a little bit about what you were bringing. What did you end up eating during the day? What did you not end up eating, and what did you wish you had brought that you didn't?
I'll tell you everything I ate and drank. So I started my morning like a normal morning at home. I ate a Kodiak Cakes blueberry muffin in a cup protein muffin thing. I drank V8 Energy. I probably drank 2 of those before I left home.
Atta girl.
And what else did I eat? I've learned, that you don't necessarily want to like stuff yourself. It's better to like eat something decent, but like keep the fueling consistent throughout the race rather than just like fill up a whole bunch of junk and then try to ride for 2 hours without taking in anything.
Yeah.
But Kyle, when we did our preview pod, you were making fun of me about Little Debbie. I went back to Walmart that night looking for those Lenny and Larry's protein cookies and couldn't find any. But something I did eat, and I mean, I ate the last one within a minute or two of getting on my bike and going right to the start line. I got myself a little 6-pack of those chocolate Hostess donuts as like I downed those right before race time, right?
There you go.
So that was kind of my breakfast. I drank some water on the way. I was pretty hydrated. I had to go pee a whole bunch before we started. So I started out with one water bottle on the bike with a Heed, I think it was Heed or Hammer Nutrition hydration mix, and then the bottle in my hip pack had you can get it at Walmart. It's like Extend brand BCAAs and electrolytes. No calories in that one though. And so I had those 2 to start with. I had another Hammer Nutrition pack in my pocket. I had 3 Hammer Nutrition gel packs in my pocket and a blueberry Laura bar, which is like blueberries, cashews, dates.
Yeah.
And like there's only like 5 ingredients, and because I can't have anything with almonds, so I had that in a pocket. I had those goo gel packs in a pocket, and the nutrition.
Now, did
so
you
that
eat?
got me. So
you
when
eat
I
all
got
of that?
to so I drank everything when coming up to the Brazil Creek. I finished drinking everything right as I got to the Brazil Creek aid station, which was about, let's see, 9-10 miles in to the race.
Okay.
So there I refilled my bottles and I had
Wait, you
I
ate
used
all
the
that?
Heed
10
I
miles into
used
the
a
race?
Hammer Nutrition pack. Yep, was that?
Okay.
You
So did you
you
eat
ate
all
all
those
that?
Hammer Nutrition packs before the aid station?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
No. I ate like one of those, and at the top of the descent into Brazil Creek, which is one of the best descents, there's a whole bunch of people in front of me and they were going so slow. By the way, I'm going to insult some people, and I don't know who they are. Sorry. Cross country, right? We got to talk about, you guys need to be mountain bikers. Like, I understand that this deal's won in the uphills, but there are people who are losing 30 minutes of time just going downhill during this race. I promise you. Well, I'll get back to that. Anyway, at the top of that, I was stuck behind these people. So I just pulled over and ate an entire Laura bar, or at least half of it. Because I was like, I might as well let them go and not waste any time and just go ahead and eat now. So that probably took me a couple minutes. I just sat there. People are coming by. They're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah. So this is not a long downhill, really. I eat like an entire bar. I'm just chilling, drinking. And I ended up catching these people at a switchback where they were like all off their bikes. Some of these switchbacks people have made Strava lines, not me, and they're already cut short, and it's kind of making me mad. But I'm just like, you have got to be kidding me. I gave you guys like a 3-minute head start, and it's not even long. Like it's a half a mile or maybe,
And people
and
are
I still
walking.
ended up catching right up to him. So, yeah. So I refilled my bottles there, or at least one of them. I had, since I didn't have like nice packs of that BCAA mix, I got little plastic baggies and just like put a scoop in each one. So refilled, took off for Berryman. And so when I got to Berryman, and I probably had done 3 gel packs maybe on the way, got to Berryman, I had stopped there on the way and left a cooler to refill everything. And in the cooler, I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I had these little cans of Dr. Pepper. I had more gel packs. I had a little 4-pack of Reese's Cups and like more Laura bars. So I hung out there for a pretty good while. I mean, I probably spent a good 15 or 20 minutes
Just
because
snacking.
my kids were there. Hannah was there. My dad was there. We were all just hanging. I needed to adjust. I was going to try to make some saddle adjustments to see if that helped my knee.
So
I
you
ate.
probably sat around for, you probably lost 20 minutes of time just sitting around
Oh,
at the
yeah.
aid stations and stuff.
Oh, for sure. So when I took back off, I loaded up the 3 Reese's Cups, 2 Laura bars, probably 3 more gel packs. That's all I had. Both of my water bottles were full with the amino acid mix because I'm like, probably helped keep me from cramping. Like that helps with fatigue. It's like I'll just get my calories from the food. Well, I'm glad I filled up both bottles because for the next 30 miles for us at the back of the pack, there was no more water. There were no aid state where they had coolers, they were empty by the time we got there and they hadn't been refilled. So all I had for the rest of the ride, thankfully it was not hot, were my 2 bottles. That was it.
I'd be curious, like it's not like this promoter's new at doing this. I'd be curious as to what happened there, if maybe somebody else was in charge of that and didn't get it done. And I'd also be curious, people that have rode it in the past, like if that was the same experience in years past.
I was talking to some people today that said that one of the ones that was empty was kind of a new spot that they've only been doing for the last year or two. I don't know. Oh, I forgot to say I had a little baggie of salt pills as well, and I'd pop one of those like every hour or so. But toward the end, I was doing like 2 till I ran out. I had quite a few. I did not want cramps. So apparently it worked.
Good. Nice. I think what you ate was, at least mid race, was on point.
Yeah.
The only thing is the soda. Like I couldn't deal with the carbonation. I'd be burping or nearly puking.
It was a little can, like a little 90-calorie can, and the reason it was fine, you're not doing a nearly as high of intensity for a race like this, Kyle. Like you're pacing yourself. It's not like an enduro where you're like doing sprints and what I've learned over the last couple of years, so like podcasts, like the reason you see a lot of these people have like little cans of Coke in their bag is that phosphoric acid helps like wake up your digestive system so that it's more able to absorb the nutrition you're sending to it. You know, when you're doing a harder effort, your body really is just using sugars, which is why those gel packs are just like basically pure simple sugars.
Right.
Yeah, I know when I was doing some longer races, like I wouldn't, you're talking those mini cans, right, Clint?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
drank like Coke. 1.5 of those.
Yeah, I would do Coke. I would do like half a can, but it seemed like it did help. Quick little burst of energy and something with the digestive thing is I think what I read as well. So
yeah, as far as my energy goes, I left Berryman campground feeling like $1 million, except I got to the bottom of the descent out of there and my knee just got so much worse. I was just like, I almost at that point I thought maybe if I turn around and hike back up to the campground out of here, Hannah and my dad will still be there with the kids and I can just quit. Like I got a shooting pain. There's a creek, kind of a slick creek crossing right at the bottom there, and I had to just pull over, like just get off the trail because I had got a shot of pain so bad. I was like, uh-oh. But I don't know.
I haven't seen any results. What's like some of the average times, finish times?
Average is hard to say. I mean, there were people that were, the winner was like very low 4 hours.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of people we know that were in the 5.5 to 6 range. 5.5 to 5.5 to 6.5. There's a lot of people in that zone.
Yeah.
Is that when our shop guys were?
I'm sure. I don't even know for sure.
Yeah, no, Gaynor went 5.5 on the single speed, which was
Yeah,
pretty
Did
good.
he really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is.
I think Lauren was just over 6. I think Jeremy was right under 6. So Scott Simon, I didn't see his time, but I know he was. Somebody said he had a really strong ride.
Yeah, Brittany Runge, I saw her post. She said she was felt really fatigued right from the start, and she was still like 6:19 or something. And I'm like, shut
She's
up,
an animal.
Brittany.
Like
She's an
a-
animal, triathlete type deal. But okay,
Did they have a cutoff? Like if you came through a checkpoint at a certain time, too late, like you were done?
I don't know. Probably what I would assume the cutoff is if the sweeper catches you and it's getting dark and they're over it,
Sure.
then you're out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um.
Hmm.
So we need to talk about though. So at the preview, Steve Friedman told me, he's like, man, try to get out in front on that road, that 4 mile road, because when you hit the woods, it's going to be bad. And I didn't do that exactly because like I wasn't warm, and I was looking at my heart rate on my watch, and I was like, no, Klint, like do not go blow yourself up in the first mile, and you're just going to be over it like for the next 49. And so I kind of did a moderate pace on the road. And when I got to 3.5 miles on my watch, I did see like a group of like 3 guys in front of me. And I went ahead and kind of picked it up and passed those guys. So I got into the woods. I thought, I mean, I saw maybe one person way out in front of me going into the woods. You kind of come down a hill and you can see a good ways down there, a couple 100 yards probably. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Like I'm gonna be able to just rip down through whatever's coming. And I'm ripping, I'm going through, I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And then all of a sudden, there are like 20, 30 people just hike a biking down the hill. And this is not a this is it's at least not steep enough where I, in kind of a slick morning, could easily control and come to a complete stop on my downcountry tires. All right. So take that, whatever that means to you, right? And I'm like, there's kind of like a ditch that's kind of washed out, and there's the more trail kind of up on the sides that people have worn in, and it's kind of a little bit rocky. And people, I mean, there's a bottleneck, and I'm just like, excuse me, and I'm like bunny hopping back and forth across the trail, just passing people, like, and it's maybe, I don't know, a 30-yard section. I probably passed 15 people, and I was just like, oh my god, like, guys, I understand, I really do, that like fitness is ultimately king in this type of race, right? Most of those people I passed probably beat me overall. But I'm just saying, if you're one of those people, for your own sake, sometimes it's hard to get like a major gain in fitness if you're already pretty fit. But there is an easy half an hour out there for you to gain just by being sort of okay at going downhill. And
Like
I ran into
staying on the
this
bike and
issue
going downhill.
multiple times.
Staying on the bike and going downhill.
Just staying on the bike. And I don't know if it was the tires rolling or just other people braking more than I know, but I would get behind some guys, and it wouldn't be steep, but it'd be kind of flattish, slightly down. And I mean, I'm literally, I can't even stand up because my knee hurts. I'm literally sitting down on my saddle with it dropped, and I am just like rolling right up to the back wheel of people constantly.
That would be frustrating.
And I'm, and if most people were cool though, like sometimes I'd catch people on climbs, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe. And they'd be like, you want to go? I'm like, hey, we're good. Like, just ride your pace. When we get to the top, maybe let me by. Cause I don't really care that much, but people were cool about it. I knew there was one part I was kind of probably sounded like a jerk, I wasn't being mean, but it probably sounded super arrogant. But on the east side of the Berryman Loop, right after you cross Floyd Tower Road, you're a little over. You're about 6 miles from the campground. There's a nice long mile that's just high speed, fast, flowy. It's not steep. And there was kind of people in front of me, and I kind of took off to pass them. And I even kind of hollered at the people. There was a line of 3 or 4, and I'm like, hey. And I saw them sitting up on the road about to go. And I'm like, don't go, let me through. Because
Did you really?
I don't know if I said that. I think I yelled, quote, I'm about to send it. Because you're kind of coming up to it. So I was like, I do not want to be
like
stuck
something with a
behind
fanny
someone
pack
here.
would say.
Yeah, I'm going to get through this section 5 minutes faster than any of them do. And I'm like, and that's without taking a pedal stroke, you know? So now after that, after I got to the campground, I didn't really do that kind of stuff so much because there's just not as much of it. And I don't know the terrain as well. There's a lot more, there's not much descending, but yeah, man, through there, I was just like, after what happened at Brazil Creek, the segment's called Brazilian Wax, and me just like kind of starting it and then just pulling off because I was like, this is dumb. I was determined that was not going to happen again. So I literally was hollering at the people that were taking a rest on Floyd Tower Road up ahead of me, like, please do not go out in front of me. And someone did, and I just like, I'm sure they could hear me freight training right behind them. They pulled over pretty fast. I was just like, no, this is where I can gain 5 minutes of time without any physical effort whatsoever.
Don't ruin my chances.
Exactly. So you guys very conscious of your cleat placement on your shoe when it comes to left or right? Because I found out that can make a big difference in your life.
Yeah, man. So
yeah, it can.
So I mean that was really what your crux was. I mean that is what kept you from that 7-hour thing. I mean, do you think the knee pain held you back a full hour worth of effort, or?
I think the knee pain combined with just like hanging out at Berryman for a long time, which I did. I hung out a lot longer than I probably would have because of the knee pain. I didn't really know for sure, but I kind of figured at that point that my chance of making 7 hours was over anyway. So I hung out longer. Now, if I were to do it again and I was like determined to get a good time, then obviously I wouldn't hang out that long. I'd hang out long enough to eat like a whole sandwich or something, but then I'd just be right back on it. So I think that combination, I mean, maybe not an hour. Maybe I go harder without that and I end up getting cramps. But for sure, half an hour, maybe I would say 45 minutes, pretty realistic. So
you think 45 minutes is due to pain and pain-related problems?
Oh, man, there were times I had to just pull over, sit there. I was like on the side of the trail doing stretches, like just trying to figure it out. I probably spent 10 minutes between Google and taking my shoe off and moving the cleats. Well, first I had to clean out the bolts so I could get the 4mm in there to move them in the first place. I mean, I spent a lot of time not just riding slower, but literally off the bike, trying to figure that out.
Wow.
So you could have been 45 minutes faster with all your stopping, or maybe even more. So that's
I think
pretty
so.
good. You're off 7 hours, really.
I think so.
But I think that's the thing about a race like that is you kind of have to don't be surprised if you have issues like that or cramping or, you know,
right.
Like it's kind of how you manage things that arise, I think, because I think most people they encounter something, whether it's a bike issue or it's some pain that comes in their back or their knee or neck.
Well, even like
whatever.
the tire thing, honestly, that would have been a 2-minute issue if I would have had fresh bacon strips, I had a pack of bacon strips that I've had for like years, and like I like to never get one out. It had like melded with the little plastic that it's inside of.
Yeah.
I like to never get one out intact. And then when I did, I didn't have the little pokey fork stick they come with. I thought I don't need that. I'll just use like a 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter Allen key and push it in there. No. Couldn't make it work. So
Have
I'm
you
like
never
fighting this, losing more air. A guy comes along. Thankfully, he had one. And sure enough, he gives me the little pokey tool that is made for that. Plug it right in, no problem. CO2, I spin it upside down where I know the sealant's in the right spot. CO2 it. He lets me use his hand pump, get it up. If I would have had, which now I for sure will always bring an actual little hand pump, not just CO2. I might still bring a CO2 in case I ever knock something off the bead, but one CO2 and a hand pump and the proper forky thing and like some fresh bacon strips that I know I can get out of the pack. And that goes from being instead of a 10 or 15 minute ordeal or 10-minute ordeal, that's like a 2-minute issue and it's fine.
Sure.
Now, have you
So
never
that was
used
my,
bacon?
that was a
Or-
mistake for sure. Say that again,
Clint,
Kyle.
Clint, was that your first time using bacon strips like that?
Yes, I have many times.
Okay. Have you successfully done it without the fork insertion tool? Or is this a
Seen
new
it
thing
done
you were trying?
successfully without it, but just the old bacon strips I had, like it was kind of like split anyway, so I just kept poking a hole in the bacon strip through and then through into the tire, and it was a mess. That's my fault for not bringing the right tool for the job, right?
Sure.
I'm trying to, maybe that would be a good place to go with this, is just like equipment mistakes I made. That'd be the main one, honestly. Should have brought a hand pump. I had one available to me that I put on my sister's bike that I have the spot. It literally would have bolted right to my frame. There's plenty of room. I just didn't do it. It wouldn't have weighed, but how many grams is the little hand pump going to weigh, So I should have done that. Fresh bacon strips. I think if I could go back, I would have bought more of those gel pack goo thingies just because they're easy. Like I never stopped riding when I ate them. I like pull one out of my pocket and I could just like rip the top off, push the little trash in my pocket, goo it, stick that back in my pocket. Although you got to be careful with that, boys, because I found out at the end of the race that one of the goos that I had put back that I thought was empty wasn't. And all that got smashed into my pocket, which is like netting. And it had turned to glue against like the hair on my leg.
Yeah.
Like getting my chamois and my shorts off. Like, oh, that hurt. That hurt. It felt like I was getting a wax on my thigh a little bit.
Oh,
Maybe
man.
that's why they all shit.
I'd buy more of those. I'd buy more Hammer like hydration packs, but other than that, like, the bike I have was the bike I have, right? Like, anybody can be like, well, how about you get the right kind of bike? Well, I feel that, believe me, but
right.
And even the cleat placement thing, man, it didn't start hurting till like mile 15 or 16 at all, and it was cold, so all summer long, like,
you've
it
had
never
15
hurt.
days. You know what I mean? Like you've had days of 15 miles where you should have picked up on that. So it's, that's kind of, it is weird.
But they've all been warmer days, yeah. And I've had that in the past, but I thought it was more just because my seat wasn't high enough or far enough back. And those were cold races, right? I think about the first year of the Chubb Enduro when it was like freezing and raining. My knee hurt that day, but it was just so cold. I never had that same problem again. So I don't know, man. I guess I need to do more big rides so I can make sure I've got all that sorted. Which brings us to
you're enduro Clint, not cross country Clint.
That's
so
right.
So you've been droning on for 50 minutes almost now about your inadequacies in an endurance race. Let's talk about bikes.
Well, real quick though, our buddy Ryan here, it says he's making his glorious comeback to racing for this thing next year. So we need to talk about that real quick here.
Yeah, Ryan. So I do have questions with that. So you have been off the race train for 3 years now, 2 years.
Cross country or what?
Racing period, competitive events, competitive pedaling. Your last one was the enduro that we did in Arkansas in 19, then, right?
No, his last one was when he broke his hip, right? When was that 19?
Yeah, it was 19.
Yeah,
because there weren't any COVID restrictions at the hospital.
Yeah.
Wow,
Okay. So now it'll be 3 years next season by the time you do get back to racing. What drug you back to this, and why cross country?
Well, I think everybody knows I get hurt a lot. And I think of almost, but I'm competitive, right? Like I like to compete for many reasons. I think just competing is it's just fun to compete and try and win, or prove to yourself you can do stuff or better yourself. It also like competition motivates me to work out, to ride more, to be in better shape. Like there's other factors that motivate certain people. For me, it's just like having a goal. So like I'll go and work really hard for it if I have a goal, and I need to do that. I need to get into better shape. And for me, that's what motivates me to go want to do that. Okay. But really, like, I think if I look at like all forms of cycling, like probably one of the safer forms of cycling, at least for me, is cross country mountain biking. And that's something that I can go do and feel confident I'm not going to get hurt on. I'm not saying there's not inherent risk with it. There is anytime you throw your leg over two wheels. But for me,
the risk versus reward kind of side of that.
What about it? What about the risk?
The risk versus reward as far as riding goes. Like you're less likely to get hurt in a cross country race than if you were doing downhill or enduro or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I mean,
there were 600 racers there. I don't think anybody went home in an ambulance yesterday.
Right.
No. And I mean, you guys know me well enough, and you guys know my wife, and people close to me know my wife. Like it scares the hell out of her. And I really can't do that to her or my and be laid up for months. And so like, I'm really cautious. I mean, when I go ride my dirt bike, I'm still pretty cautious, and there's risk there. And I'm not saying I don't want to go ride like down at Shepherd or places like that. And I have some nervousness about even doing that. But for me, just like being able to compete and do some cross country is okay. It's funny. Before we started recording, I almost told this story, but last night they announced the St. Gnarls Enduro, and here in St. Charles, and doing some, and then ending at Good News, and so I hit interest on the event on Facebook, and this morning I'm laying on the couch with my little, he'll be 3 on Sunday, and my wife wakes up and she comes out. And she has this real funny look on her face, and I'm like, what's going on? And she just kind of looks at me and she goes, "You're not racing an enduro, right?" and no, I'm not racing it. I just, I want to go out and watch. Obviously, it's local. It's trails I've ridden a lot, and just want to go be around mountain bikers. So I plan on go out and maybe heckle some friends and have a good day. But no, I won't be racing that. But gonna build a bike, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. To do some cross country next year and really just kind of get myself back in shape. And because I like to compete, it's something I feel I can do and not really have any risk at. So
awesome, man. Good.
Man, I wanted to do that race so bad, but that my mom had already scheduled our family Thanksgiving for then because of my other sister. And I don't know if I'm wildly successful in the next month. Maybe even me and my wife will be out skiing on Thanksgiving proper. So I saw that announcement for the St. Gnarls Enduro came out like a day or two too late for old Klint.
Maybe I should race that one.
Yeah. I think you should.
I'll go out and support you.
So Ryan, you're building a bike.
Yeah.
And you, what did you say your goal was for time for next year's BT Epic?
It's a stretch goal, but 5:30. It's a
5:30.
stretch goal.
And
I
then
think 6 hours is realistic. 5:30 is a stretch, but 5:30, go for it.
I think you can. This is no slight to the people who've done it, but like I've seen the results, and I've seen a lot like who has made the 5:30 mark, and I'm like, yeah, if Ryan actually tries and trains, he can definitely be on that level, I would assume. And me too. I'm gonna get an epic Evo alloy comp, and I'm gonna whoop your butt next year.
So
All right,
Clinton,
if you do that, if you beat me, no excuses. Like if my flat, if I break my leg, I will pay you back your entry fees.
Heck yeah. Kyle, what do you
Look at
put
that.
the odds at? If
For-
you're
for
making
100
the line for Vegas, what do you put the odds at me beating Ryan in a 53-mile race?
0. Yeah, no, you're not. Clinton,
He could
love
cramp,
you.
Kyle. He could
You are
cramp
not-
by his own words.
You are not shaving 2.5 hours off your current time.
So what you're saying is there's a 0% chance something happens to Ryan or his bike.
Okay, no, there's a high.
Let me tell you what, on the descents on some of the Three Sisters, there is some exposure. Let me tell you. You know, you've got a lot of confidence in that man finishing the race without crashing or something terrible happening to him.
Clinton, I've rode those probably as many times as you have.
I'm just gonna line up with whatever wave you're in, just right next to you off the start, and just reach for brake levers. You see me and Ryan like hand slap fighting all the way down the road.
No, because here's the thing, Clinton.
I picture
You're 2.5 hours off that mark now. And I think you've got an hour and 0 problems, like meaning like no knee problems, no pain, just pedal the whole time like a champ. And I think you've got maybe an hour in a more efficient bike. Like if you drop down to a 25-pound dedicated cross-country rocket, maybe you've got an hour of efficiency in there. I don't know where the other 30 minutes comes from.
It comes from I need to lose about 20 pounds.
Hey,
I really could lose more than that, but
hey,
I'm just saying.
I got a great idea. Let's let the listeners choose an over/under on this.
Okay.
So and here's the bet.
So
The spread, they're going to let the listeners come up with the spread, like a football game, right? Like Ryan's going to win, but by how much, right? Can Klint beat the spread? What's the spread, Kyle?
Oh, see, I've never lost a dime in my life to betting on sports because I don't know anything about sports and I work too hard for my money. So I wouldn't even be able to tell you what any of that means.
Well, it just means that instead of betting like straight up who's going to win or lose, it makes it more interesting. It's like, okay, I don't want to take the bet that Clint's going to beat Ryan straight up, but you could be like, I'll take a bet that he's within 30 minutes or something like that.
Oh, you buy into a range. I have no idea.
So
here's the thing. The chance of you running a sub 5:30 next year, slim to none. The chance of Ryan having a mechanical or an injury and not finishing, that's actually fairly decent. That's what the bet is, though.
I think this is a great pool for the Facebook page. We'll put the poll up there, and we'll let the listeners decide what the spread's got to be. And I'll pay up if I lose.
Yeah, maybe a listener, if I can't afford it, maybe someone will let me borrow their bike. I'm 5'9", you know.
No, I just looked this up, and I didn't even think much of it because I was like, well, who cares? Right? Ryan's going to pay Clinton, what, $35 for a race?
No, it's $200 entry fee.
That's all right. So that I looked that up while we were talking, and that's what I was like, oh, okay. That's a pretty sizable chunk of money now we're talking about.
Yeah, it's like $200. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be fun. Speaking of epics,
Clinton.
Oh, you're building. Were we supposed to tee you up for the bike you're trying to build?
I don't know.
So Ryan, are you going to try to go? You're going to try to go Epic Evo or just the regular Epic? You going for that little bit extra?
No, I ordered an Epic Evo frame set, and not due till the end of February. but I'm going to start compiling the parts I need to build that sucker up. But yeah, I'll have an Epic Evo in a 120 or 130 front end travel setup with some Axis. We talked about stuff we'd like to try, so I'm going to try the Axis dropper and at 12 speed. So should be a pretty sweet ride. It'd be the nicest bike I've ever ridden. So be pretty excited. I'll be excited when I finally get to ride it in February, March.
Are you good at building bikes? You always, check the torque, do all the torque right and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I think Ryan's as good as he could possibly want to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, Kyle.
Ryan is 100% capable of building a perfect bike every single time he does it. Whether or not he takes the time to do it every time he does it is the question.
So the last bike you built at the shop.
What I missed on your bike, Clint?
Nothing yet that I know of. That's what I'm asking. Do I need to go through and do a bolt check? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So Clinton did buy a new bike that was assembled by Ryan, unbeknownst to Clinton before he bought it.
Yeah, good thing I didn't know.
Hey, I will say this. It wouldn't hurt to check it over, just like you should always check over anything you purchase.
I'm blocking the view of it. It's right behind me, boys.
Actually, Clinton, that's a good question. What brand of torque wrench do you have at your house?
I have a Craftsman.
Do you have a Craftsman or
yeah, I got a good old Craftsman.
People can't see it right now, but your face says maybe you don't have a torque wrench.
No, I do. I have a smaller like Craftsman for my bicycle, and then I have like a Cobalt one at my dad's house for the motorcycles.
Okay, all right, cool.
Clinton, this doesn't count as a torque wrench.
No,
I mean,
it's legit. Like I twist it, I find the Newton meters, I lock it in place, I do all the stuff. Yeah, dude, I always do that, especially with like my pivot bolts and stuff, my shock bolts. I make sure that's all just right.
I shouldn't have questioned. You've had your bike apart in so many important things of your bike apart so many times. I would like to assume that you wrench. So yeah, I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah, really, you ought to actually have high confidence in my mechanic skills because I take a lot of stuff apart.
I know your stuff's been apart so many times.
But it's because I like to make sure it's all greased and taken care of, and it's why after 3 years, my bike that is for sale, by the way, is still in great shape, other than a few cosmetic, the paint chip here and a little scratch there. That thing is creak free.
You just gave a bike for sale? What bike are you selling?
Shut up. Everybody knows my Slash is for sale. I'm sad because I still love the paint job on it a lot more than even my new bike, but I figure the shop we get stuff at, switch brands, and my bike's still in great shape. And if something happens to it, is it going to be easy to get warranty? And so I feel like it'd be smarter for me to sell it while it's still awesome. And actually, not only awesome, but like literally just got a full inspection, and then I rode a cross country race on it. Got a new chain, new cassette.
For everyone listening, I was trying to throw Clint a bone there for him to say that he has a 2019 Carbon Trek Slash 9.8 that's full upgraded and holds a couple KOMs at Shepherd Mountain, if I remember correctly, for sale. So if you would you can do a 50-mile epic on, or
you can finish it. You can finish.
Yep.
You might not finish that fast, but it's doable.
But either way, Clint's bike's for sale. So if you guys are in the market for a Shepherd Smasher trail bike, reach out to Clint.
Yeah. And the good news is the wheels that are on it are not the wheels that I would smash at Shepherd on, by the way. The wheels that are on it are carbon, and I quit doing that. The rear wheel's like brand new. It's got less than 100 miles on it.
So here's the thing, Clint. We are at an hour right now. I feel like your new bike is going to require a little bit more time than probably we should make these people endure for. So should we tell them what it is, or should we just tease it to the next episode?
Well, you look, whether we make a second episode or just keep recording now, you can always, people, if you're listening, like you can always hit pause and just pick it up later. So we might as well tell them now. I got a size S3 2021 Stump Jumper Evo Expert. And do I get bro points? Because most of that bike is raw carbon with gloss.
Oh yeah, no, I guess
Black.
it's way more black than your last bike. So I would assume that would get you bro points with the bros.
Well, Chris Wietrick said I just get fewer deductions. I don't get any positive necessarily, but my deductions. I'm gonna go grab it. You know, the listeners can't see it, but Ryan built it, so he knows what it looks like. Okay. Never mind, Kyle. You've seen it. I'm not gonna go grab it.
You don't need to grab it for our listeners to go see, but I am excited about you being excited about your new bike day, and I am also chuckling and have been chuckling all day at how fast this happened. Like, Ryan built this bike on Saturday. I worked on Sunday, and I texted Clinton and Ryan in our little group chat that we have going constantly on Monday saying how incredible that bike was, and Clinton drove up Tuesday and bought it.
Well, here's the truth, boys. This is what it all comes down to ultimately. Now, it was a great deal. It's the right kind of bike. I think it's I think the Stumpy Evo is the best silhouette in mountain biking right now. But here's the real truth: is my wife said it was okay. Now she said it was. She said that though on faith that I'm gonna get that Slash sold, within the next month or so for a decent price. If I don't, if she can hear me upstairs, she said if I don't get that Slash sold, I got to sell a kidney. So that was the deciding factor. I wasn't gonna do it, but I was kind of talking about it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to one quiver mountain bike instead of two, and I could probably get, wouldn't cost me too much by the time I sell my other bike. And then she was on board, and that was it.
Man,
that was it.
You owe her a nice dinner when that Slash sells.
We don't have any money for a nice dinner now, Ryan. I just bought a bike.
When the Slash sells.
When the Slash sells, man. Yeah, I'm with you.
No, that's exciting, man. I am super pumped on your new bike. I mean, obviously, I think, I guess Ryan's out of the enduro bike game for a while, but I am. That will be my next bike. The Stump Jumper Evo. I'm hoping for a Pro. Will be my next bike, and I'm super jealous, and I absolutely cannot wait for some first ride reviews, some in-depth reviews, some long-term reviews. I want to see what your climb times look like. I want to see what your lap times look like. You have so much documented proof of like performance for your Slash. I really can't wait to see what differences you notice on the trail and what your times show on a new bike. You've been on that bike and riding and documenting so much for the past 2-3 years now almost. I can't wait to see how that changes.
Well, I can honestly say I can't tell for sure yet because I haven't really gotten a chance to do much with it. But until that Slash sells, it's way better of a bike. Best bike ever. Way better than this Stumpy is right now. I can't even believe I'm selling it. I'm stupid to sell it. Best bike in the world. Somebody should buy it. It actually, this is the honest truth. I even told Ryan this afternoon. We're recording this podcast at almost 10 o'clock at night now. But Ryan, when we talked right after I bought it, what did I tell you? My first impression from riding it was.
Your almost exact words were, "It is eerily similar to your Slash."
Yep. It feels a lot like it. There's some differences for sure, but it feels a lot like it. And that would beg people be like, well, why are you selling? Why are you switching? It's just because
new bike day,
local bike shop, man. Like, well, I just kind of want to get on, just go ahead and get on board with that change. And somebody's going to end up with a sweet bike. By the way, if you ever see my bike, you know it's got pink Trek decals on it. You can peel those off. It's black underneath. It's fine if pink is not your thing. This is the worst podcast ever. I'm just like plugging my job, plugging my business, plugging my bike for sale.
It's okay, Clint. We'll still hang out with you.
Well, again, this is the world's okayest mountain bike podcast.
I didn't
It's
okay.
with later. Thank you.
Now-
I'm about out myself, man. I'm so tired.
Well, we'll save the tire talk again for later. Ken Avery from Victoria really wants to come back on. He just couldn't tonight. So I'll save my usual tire talk for another day. Though I am excited about one thing on these new Specialized bikes is new tires I've never used. Got the Butcher Eliminator combo, and once I feel like my ankle, because now my ankle hurts. I guess it was compensating for the knee. So like the outside of my knee was hurting. It's fine now, but now the inside of my ankles on that leg is killing me for some reason. But once I feel good, I'm gonna get it out to Shepherd and just do like a lap up Coolio's climb and down trolley track just to kind of get a feel for it. If I was going to do some real bashing, I'm gonna wait till I get my ride wrap on the bike. And there is actually clear plastic down tube protection you didn't notice, Kyle. There is more than it's clear. It's hard to see, but it's there.
It's still so scary. I would still get something with some dampening to it that would actually take a bump.
Yeah, I might get like an all mountain frame protector down tube thing.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
Well, hey, too. So we have a couple of podcasts that we have to do. So we've really got to. Maybe we need to do these once a week. But there's also a podcast that we want to get. I want to get back to talking about dad bike stuff a little bit and talk about preparing your toolbox for owning a family full of bikes, and about talking about setting up maybe a light.
That sounds good to me. You run the show next time. That would be great.
No, I'll put the whole podcast together, and then we'll kind of just talk about what each of us do, and then we'll go through some lists. I'll put it together. There's one of our listeners caught me at the BMX track and said, "Hey, I have a couple topics I'd love for you guys to talk about because I would generally like to know, but I think it would make good podcast material." And he gave me a couple ideas, so I told him that we would. So we've got to get back to doing that too.
All right, sounds good to me. Maybe we need to just try to hit it again next Tuesday.
Yep, let's do that.
All right, boys. Well, it's been good. I'll try to figure out the spot in the middle where everything went haywire and edit that out. But it kept recording, so we should be good. So appreciate everyone listening. Any final thoughts, Ryan?
We need to get this poll up on the Facebook page, though.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Because I don't think I'm going to edit this and publish it tonight. So you're listening to this, it's probably Wednesday at least. As always, email us at okayestmtb@gmail.com. That's okayestmtb@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, World's Okayest Mountain Bike Podcast. Leave comments, send messages, and it always helps us when listeners have questions. It gives us more to talk about than ourselves, which I'm sure you all would appreciate. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me.
Yep.
All right.
So long, everybody. Have a good night.
So long.